Welcome to Triple F, bringing life to your faith, family, and finance.
Hello, and welcome to our Triple F show, where we bring you practical ways on how to strengthen your faith, go closer in your family, and then also equip you in how you can elevate in your finances as well. And so we're excited for this particular show. This is our family segment of the show, and we have a very special guest speaker here with us today that we're very excited to have with you all. And so I'm going to go ahead. We're going to jump into it and kick off the show. So buckle in. And for those of you who are chiming in on Facebook or YouTube, thank you for subscribing to our page. And we're excited to partner with you in sharing this information with the world. So I'm excited to have our guest speaker here. I'm going to turn it over to him to kind of introduce himself. But as you can see the picture, trying to hold my emotions in. This is like one of my best friends growing up, and now we're adults. We have family, and we're still, the bond has grown, has never changed. You know, it's like we can pick up as if it was yesterday. So it's an honor for me and humble to have him on the Triple F platform to share his experience. So I'm going to turn it over to him to kind of introduce himself, his family, and where he resides. Chris, I'm turning it over to you.
Hey, Danny. Hey, thanks for having me on, and definitely appreciate being able to spend time with you on your show. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Chris Maumalanga, and I am currently living in Southern California, in the city of Redondo Beach, and I was born and raised in California, so I'm truly a California kid, although I wasn't raised California, and I'll explain that a little bit later. So I'm married. I have 4 kids, and I have 3 siblings. And my father has passed, but I still have my mom. And so, that's my family situation. Happily married and blessed to be able to be a father to 4 beautiful kids. And 2 of them are adults already, and 2 are still in school. And exciting stuff. And looking forward to what the future has in store.
Awesome. Yeah, Chris, as you're speaking, I could just think of, like, it took me back to, back in high school where we didn't have any responsibility, just running around Hawthorne and Inglewood, just knuckleheads. And, never did we thought that we would grow up, right? And now that we grown men, we're grown up, we're married with family. We're going to jump right into the first question here. And, what is the importance of family to you growing up? I know for you and I both growing up in a culture, in a Tongan culture household. And so now that we have family of our own, we get to raise them in an American kingdom culture, right? Like, so it's, there's difference, yet there's parallels there as well. But I don't want to take the words out of your mouth. I want you to share your experience, because I know we moved here when I was 11. You were born and raised here with your family, and so is that correct? Am I accurate on that? Go. I'll turn it over to you.
Yes. Yeah, thanks, Danny. And I'll tell you, our friendship has turned into more than just a friendship. I consider you a part of my family as well. But being first generation, born and raised here in California, we don't know what we don't know.
Mhm.
Growing up, you think it's normal, and as you meet new people and experience new things, you start to realize, wait a minute, we're very similar in a lot of ways with other cultures and people, but we're also very different in the way we were disciplined, um, in our cultural structures, and many times those family values were tested because of the clash of culture. You
Mm.
know, we come from a place that most people consider paradise in the island of Tonga, um, and most Americans work their lives, entire lives, to hopefully one day retire in a place that we left. And then we get here and we realize that the struggle is real for the American dream, which is only two reasons why we come to this country, right? We come here for opportunity and for education. And you can get both of those, but the part that they left out was there's also some nightmares involved and some pain involved in that process. And so I came from a family, both my parents are from the island of Tonga, and they were working. Um, Dad was working two jobs, mom sometimes two jobs as well. So we came from a two-parent household, but we were either raising ourselves or we had a relative who was watching us, but we didn't spend very much time with our parents, our biological parents. We had the village uh,
Mm.
raising us, and it was tough. It was tough because a lot of the American kids were doing things that we weren't doing. You know, um, and so the acclimation process, even though I was born here, I was raised Tongan at home,
Mm.
and we didn't speak English at home. My mom has been here over 50 years, and she still speaks to me in her native tongue. She doesn't speak to me in English. Um,
Mm.
so there's definitely a culture clash. I think one of the things that sticks out in my mind is that with my father, who's a very hardworking man, and he tried to instill in myself and my siblings the importance of sticking together because he
Mm.
didn't have that with his siblings. He had 10 siblings, but only one of them had the vision and the work ethic that he had. And the rest of them kind of took the opportunity to be in this country for granted. And that hurt him. That hurt him. And he really, although we came from a big family, it was a fractured family, not in not in the sense of like disowning each other or anything. It was more in the sense of um, our belief level with regards to the future and education and values that were very different from what they knew coming to this country from a small island out in the middle of nowhere in the South Pacific.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, there's so much to unpack there. I'm not going to even try, but one thing I do want to comment on is, I think we all experience that as Tongan American or even foreigners. I even see it now with certain demographics of areas where parents are being forced to work to survive, right? And so now the kids are left to raising themselves, whether it's the television raising them or the internet is raising them in the process. And back then, in our time, back then it seems like so far away. In our time, we didn't have the destruction that we have today. Like we didn't have the distraction that we have today. We didn't have the internet. We didn't have the video games. We didn't have all of this social media stuff, right? And today's different. It's a whole different ball game of adjusting. So, man, that was a great share, Chris. Well, we can actually end the show with just that first question alone. So much substance to take away from, but very powerful. Let's go to the second question, Sherry. Thank you. Hey, share a little bit, Chris, on I know you touch on it in a bit, but like how did you see your family when it was in order? You mentioned about your dad and his siblings not being able to work together as a team. Kind of touch on that and expound on that a bit, on what you saw when your family was out of order and when your family was in order, the synergy that it brought.
Yeah, I mean, look, no family likes to admit their struggles, and most families don't like to admit some of the painful experiences. But for me, I've been able to embrace them. Not initially. Initially, there was a lot of anger involved, and what I'm referring to is some of the pain that I saw my parents endure because of their siblings.
Mm,
And so it caused me to feel a certain type of way towards them at one point, and I kind of assumed um, those same feelings just based on my experience, just seeing my parents in pain. And what I'm referring to more specifically is they were able to sow into them and invest in them uh, emotionally, financially, um, so much, and it was taken for granted. And what
mm,
I mean by that is that a perfect example is some of my dad's brothers came to this country, and instead of working hard like he did, they kind of worked, but they partied a lot too. And so my dad had this vision of the whole family, working together, and everybody putting in their resources together to lift the family up together.
mm,
And he only had one brother who felt that way, and both of them prospered to a degree. Um, uh, First generation wise, meaning we thought we were doing things, but for working class families, they were able to be very frugal, and they were able to lump their resources together. But they were just fighting and scratching to get everyone on board on the same page. And what I've learned is that everybody doesn't share the same vision, and that's okay. You can just meet them where they are and keep loving on them, and whatever God has in store for them, that's what's going to happen. And I've seen it happen. Some of my dad's siblings' kids got deported, um, and they have to live with that. And I don't, but I recognize it more now as an adult. But as a kid, it was confusing with regards to some of the things that I saw between our family members. So what my father tried to do with my brother and I, because initially it was just my brother, Davis, we call him Pep, and my sister Elizabeth, we call her Peppy, and then my youngest sister came along later. But he tried to instill into us unity, how important being together
mm.
is, and that family structure is so vital towards living a good life and living a happy life. Because to me, family means my vision and perception of family is a big part of it is unity, being on the same page, and yeah, that's to me that's probably the biggest factor that I was able to take away from my dad is the importance of sticking together because he experienced so much pain of now he still loved his brothers and his sisters and it wasn't a matter of love, it was just a matter of different visions and different
Yeah.
ideals with regards to moving forward and building up the family.
No, totally. Yeah, as a kid, I grew up and I saw it myself. but I didn't really fully comprehend things to how it is today. I like me from this perspective, and I know you won't speak on it, so I'm gonna speak on it. Uh, you know, and I hope and pray that you don't mind. But for as a Tongan American growing up in the area of Southern California, uh, I can see, uh, your dad's the fruit of your dad's work and your parents' work spoke for itself. I don't know how many houses and apartments that you guys own. That the hard work that they put in, the vision that he had was huge. That was like something, I think like for you guys were first Tongan American in that particular area to purchase a home, let alone own multiple of homes, let alone own multiple apartments, and when I reflect back now, this are like some of the desires that we can do today in our society, and we have more access to so many other things. But that unity and that vision that your father had, man, could you imagine if they stuck together? Like I think
Yeah.
about as you were speaking about the Jewish phenomenon, right? Like, and then you go, we drive down the street to Beverly Hill in Hollywood, then you see like how they've owned the place, and how they're willing to sacrifice and work together to make it real. No, that's huge, brother. That's so huge. That's a great share. Thank you. All right, we'll keep it moving here to the next question. Yeah, why don't you share a little bit of issues and problems that your family when it wasn't in order, right? Like describe some of the issues and problems that you had when your family wasn't in order. Where I know you mentioned about your mom and dad out working a lot, and you're moving from, relatives. Well, different relatives. You having to watch over you guys while they work. I know that's just one. I know for us that's not a problem. We do it anyway as a family. But as you look back on it, just the absence of parents, being present and having a father and a mother to be able to nurture, care, and love and share certain things with. Touch on that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think there's a one size fits all to a successful family dynamic. But I do feel that um, love and presence uh, is huge. And what I mean by presence is just being around. And
Mhm.
I remember growing up, I sometimes felt like my dad didn't love me because we never talked. We never like spent time talking about stuff. I didn't know what his favorite color was. I didn't know. We never celebrated birthdays really.
Mhm.
Especially his birthday or mom's birthday. And you don't really realize the programming you're getting from your parents. Then when I look back, I realized that they had different love languages. My dad's love language was sacrifice, and I didn't understand sacrifice as a kid.
Mm.
Playing American football was such a release and an escape for me. My dad worked two jobs, so he was only able to attend one game in all of my high school years, and then in college, he was only able to attend one game. When I was at the University of Kansas, and then when I got drafted into the NFL, he only came to one game. And
Mhm.
and it wasn't necessarily about a money thing. It was that was his love language.
Mm.
To him, he felt like in order for him to show his love, he didn't know much, but the one thing he could do was he could work.
Mm.
And maybe work for him was an escape. It was kind of that was his time, and I look back and I shed tears thinking about the sacrifice
Mm.
and thinking about the time because I kind of, like for us, we're parents now, and I relate to my own sons and my own daughters, and thinking about how it's painful for me to even think about missing my son's game, you know. And it's not even that I'm going to be doing anything, but I'm just, you know, my son plays basketball now, so he'll play, and as I'm watching the game, he'll peek over and look at me every now and then, and we just have that connection, during the game. It doesn't happen two, three, four times a game, maybe, but just knowing that I'm there, I know how much that would have meant to me as a kid, and so I fight for that now as a father, to be there time wise, and I have to figure out ways to not miss anything, and that's one of my goals. One of my goals is to, my dad already laid the foundation of work ethic, so I'm not afraid to work. I'm not afraid to hustle, but now my hustle is different. My hustle is so that I can create more time to spend more with my babies. And to me, that's more valuable than anything because I lost my dad in my 20s. And so my dad, I think I was 28 when I lost my dad. And it was so painful. He was 61. So I kind of used that as the measuring stick. That means I have about just under 12 years left. If I match that, if I pass away at that same age, that means I only have 12 years left. Hopefully I can make it that long or even beyond. But, growing up and losing my dad at a young age, I would give anything just to be able to spend more time with him and talk with him and things like that, So
Amen.
That family structure is huge and important. And whenever the dynamic gets fractured in any way, it could create a lot of pain and a lot of struggle within that family structure.
Amen. Amen. No, that's good. See, that's good. It's so funny. Like when you talk about sacrifice, the first word I wrote down because that's what the Holy Spirit placed in my heart about your dad, and you just spoke about that. And sometimes, as in their era, they didn't have the time to explain to us that why they sacrifice. They just do it and expect you to figure it out. You know what I mean? Like we're breaking that stronghold because now we're being able, like the love language that you use today with children is that the way they spell love is Time,
Yes.
and you're changing that stronghold in your family where you don't have to you can sacrifice differently and be able to spend time raising and being present in your kid's life, man. And I know your pops is smiling down and very proud of the man that you are today. So keep up the great work. I share with Sherry and Virgil a little bit of the work you have done with the kids that you have placed in Division I colleges all across the U.S. and the kids that you have placed in high school, even from Australia and New Zealand, Tonga, Fiji, that you've brought over. I mean, the impact that you're having on people's lives, and uh, you have an infinite amount of patience and love to give. So we'll go to the next question, Sherry. What should we do to solve some of the problems in today's family, Chris? What advice would you share or see from your lenses on looking outward of what you see today, especially during this COVID time?
Yeah, I think there's some interesting things that I've learned through this COVID, through this pandemic. You know, um, that's a rabbit hole that I don't want to steer too far away from because I can go on and on about the different things that I experienced and that I witnessed. But I'll talk about a couple. During this pandemic time, one thing that I value greatly that I thought was a blessing was spending so much more time with my kids. This is the most time I've ever spent with my family at any stage of my life was this pandemic. So although this pandemic was a worldwide catastrophe, although it was a lot of pain and a lot of loss. I lost a lot of relatives and friends to COVID as well. Um, I had to really focus in on the positive, and I tell you, my health got better. My perspective got better because I was sitting there trying to figure out what to do with myself. And, I ended up investing in a bike and a couple of bikes. I think I purchased 3 different bicycles. Um, 2 of them got stolen, and just being open minded, really to me, and being and daring to uh, step out of your comfort zone, to me, is probably the biggest thing you can do for your family, and what that will do is allow you to look for ways to create that time. And in our society, uh, oftentimes that time means earning more, because if you earn more, then you can work less. And so, not settling for a 9 to 5. A 9 to 5, like we shared with each other a lot of times, is a great place to start. Definitely not a good place to finish. And one of the things that I'm proud of is that I'm not too humble to go work a job or work 2 jobs while I'm creating a business, or I'm looking for other opportunities. And I think for most families, life beats you up so much that oftentimes you stop dreaming and you start losing that faith that you can have a better life. And to me, the better life is not being a billionaire, although it'd be nice to be a billionaire because that just gives you more options. But to me, success and a good life is just being able to live a good life, but to be happy and spending quality time with the people you love during this short period that we're here on Earth.
Amen. Amen. Yeah, definitely, man. I couldn't agree with you more. Don't really have anything else to add into that. I know, for me personally, it's the same thing. Like, not only spending the time with my kids and my wife and my kids, my dog, and definitely taking care of my health more than I would have if it wasn't a pandemic. So, good stuff. I think we got a moving right along pretty well. We got I think 1 or 2 more questions left, and we'll finish up. So, what are some of the actions are you taking to help strengthen your family bond with one another? Um, is there any activities that you guys do, or I know I so enjoy you and your wife. Last time you were here, we had a conversation about how you plan out vacation to go as a family and enjoy, and then not only come to Hawaii, but outside of Hawaii and other places as well. I really admire that we can get so busy in just working and trading time for money, and not really get to stop and smell the roses and enjoy uh, life in general. So I'll pass it over to you.
Yeah, for my wife and I, the biggest thing that we probably biggest activity or the most impactful activity we do is taking trips with our family. We look, and it's not just it doesn't have to be a big trip. Sometimes it's a 1 week trip, sometimes it's a weekend trip, sometimes it's a day trip. And we didn't start off doing that. We didn't have the means to take big trips initially. We've traveled all over the Pacific, to Hawaii, to all over the United States, and we're not done. And that's kind of one of the things that my wife and I enjoy doing anyway. It's just that now we do it with our kids, and we're able to invite family members to come along with us. And as we are able to build a stronger foundation and be able to invest more, we look for ways to invest more in our family. Um, and there's no better investment to us, at least, than to figure out ways to, uh, uh, spend time together. But not just time, but time where there's, because we spend time every day dropping them off to school, picking them up. That's not the kind of time I'm talking about. That's everyday deals. I'm talking about the fun times where we go to the beach. Our kids, our two youngest kids are young enough to where they just want to go to the pool and they just want to eat something sweet every day, and so we laugh as, growing up, a treat for me and my wife, like a treat was fast food. That was like fine dining. McDonald's was like fine dining for my family growing up. And my kids are sitting here talking about, naming off restaurants that I couldn't even tell when I was a kid,
Right.
and, being all picky, my son always, I don't know how this happens, but we go to a restaurant and he always orders the most expensive thing on the menu, usually it's a couple filet mignons, and I look at him and that stronghold of poverty, growing up with a poverty mindset, I start to get angry, like, don't order that, and then I had to catch myself as, nah, we're on vacation, we're spending some time, it's only going to cost a little bit more. It's not like it's going to be that much more to invest in seeing my son happy or my daughter happy. It's well worth it. And so for me, man, it's just creating more memories, taking more trips, and thankfully, I'm not really good on details and organization, but my wife is. So I lean heavily on her, and she does all the heavy lifting when it comes to the planning of that kind of stuff. And I'm blessed that way, where I don't have to sit there and think a whole lot when we're taking trips. All she says is she's looking on the computer for a place, and we usually take 2 to 3 big trips a year, and she'll just throw out a location. She'll say, what about Fiji? And I'm like, oh, Fiji's great. Let's do Fiji. Or, Hawaii, and I'm like, yeah, let's do Hawaii. And then she'll figure out the rest. So this July, we had to be creative during the pandemic. We ended up going to Florida. But we went to a part of Florida we had never been to. We went to West Palm Beach and spent a week there. And then we went and spent a week in Orlando, so they can do the whole Disney thing again. So yeah, I mean, that's one of the creative things you can do as a family, is just figure out ways to spend time. And it doesn't have to be expensive, especially when you're young and still getting started off. It's just that over the years, the quality of our trips have gotten better, but we're still climbing that ladder, trying to, we have a goal to go to take a family trip to Europe and hit up Italy and go to Israel and places like that. My wife is watching a Netflix show right now, based in Turkey. So now she's talking about going to Turkey, and and Greece and places like that. Yeah. So traveling for us is kind of a big thing for us that we've been consistent with over the last probably decade.
Wow. That's amazing, man. That's the way to top it off. Our last question. You really have changed from how you were raised up, of your mom and dad sacrificing for you guys, but being absent, right? So now you're sacrificing, but yet present. And field trips for us was driving down to Imperial Beach. All right, guys,
man,
jump in the water. We're gonna barbecue.
I remember as a kid, we go on vacation, and it was usually we were driving somewhere, and it was usually we stayed at relatives' house.
Right.
There was no hotel with a swimming pool. There was no eating at a restaurant and ordering from a menu. It was a big deal to go to McDonald's. Jack in the Box, and that still costs money, but that's far from fine dining. That's far from telling your kids order what you want.
Yeah.
And
now
I feel like I've.
Go ahead, see.
No, I feel like my youthful experiences sometimes still creeps in, and I'm like, man, what? Don't be ordering that lobster, because my daughter, she likes king crab. Is it? Which one's the big ones? The big, whatever the big crab legs are. You know,
Them
that's like
king
her
crab.
favorite food. Yeah, whatever those giant
Yeah,
king crab legs are.
they pretty penny too.
Oh yeah, I'm sitting there looking at my wife, and I'm like, this little girl is not going to order no crab legs, and she's like, well, she'll have to remind you, well, what is it? What's part of it? We can afford it, but what's part of it is a problem. I'm like, okay, go ahead.
Them stronghold be real.
Those strongholds are no joke, man. I'm sitting
No,
here telling them, eat more of that bread butter and get full off of that with some water, and order the chicken.
oh my God, that's so funny, man. That's so funny. No, there's a saying I was gonna say earlier. There's a saying, you know, that someone can live but never fully experience life. And
Yeah,
what I hear from you is that you're not just living, but you're experiencing life with your family. And I think that's all we desire to have is to, learn from our parents' mistake, appreciate their sacrifice, and be able to do better with our children, knowing today what we know. And so we thank you for sharing your heart. See, many blessings to you and the family. And thanks for being a gift, man. Keep shining that light, man. Definitely appreciate you, brother.
thank you, brother. Thank you for having me on, and continued blessings towards you and your family, and success with the show.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Yeah, the show wouldn't go on without Virgil and Sherry. So they do the heavy lifting in the back. So thank you so much. That's it, Virgil. We're wrapped. Oh, yes, we do. We do have some great gifts, guys. Please, please, please. We have an ebook that we have put together in our shows from our prior shows of actionable steps that you can apply to grow greater in your faith, to have a greater intimacy, just like some of the suggestions that Christians shared today in building a kingdom family, and then also with finances as well. So subscribe to our Facebook page. We also have a YouTube page and an Instagram page. Here you go, right here. You can click on that and subscribe, and you will get the book for free. For free. Free 99. And there's a lot of substance and content in there that will be a blessing to you. And your family. So thank you so much. God bless and aloha.